call this morning, and I had to call it during the break. But I mentioned to you that last night I was right in the middle of a family battle, and it was going back and forth. And the only way I could straighten the family out was tell them the truth. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you on the Zoom.
Okay. So that went on for about 2 hours last night. It was very stressful for me because I know the family, and I didn't know that the death of the matriarch would bring out all the demons and all the anger and all the hatred. And it did. So while y'all were on the break, I got a phone call from one of the family participants, a neighbor of the family. And here's what she said to me. She said, "Randy, what did you do to the Spray family last night?" And I said, "Well, I think I just told them the truth every time they panicked." And she said, "Well, I was over there this morning, and they were all in agreement, and they were all working together." And she said, "What'd you do?" And I said, "Well, I pissed them all off and made them all angry and got all the angry coming to me. And then they all decided that what I was saying was true and that they needed to finish the deal." So you got to remember that if you become an estate planner, you become part of the family. In the long run, you are part of their family. So they look at you as a primary advisor, and they look at you to help them solve. We said solution aware. All I was doing was trying to get that family to be solution aware. I think the end result of that is going to probably be a $400,000 or $500,000 death claim annuity rollover to probably Emeritus, because Dad is pushing 90. No, he's not. He's pushing 85. And he needs a plan that'll pay in 30 days. How many income products will pay in 30 days? A bunch of them? Okay. A third of them? Okay. So see, I'm not aware of the other ones. So maybe I'd be looking at more of them. Okay. Do what? I just thought it was I know that. And if I didn't have faith in that, I wouldn't deal with Mike, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have all the time. But when I say, "Hey, I've got some ideas for you, I need to do some research and run some numbers," the client thinks I'm doing all the research and running all the numbers. What I'm really doing is calling Mike. That's what professionals do. Well, that's what Mike does. Mike's good at that. I'm not very good at that. So when Mike sends me some illustrations, I can go in front of my client in all confidence that I'm going to make the right. I've already made the diagnosis, but the prescription's going to be more than likely what Mike sends me. And I have to have faith in that. The fact that I only get 24 hours a day like you all, and sometimes I just don't have time to do the research. But if Mike's doing it, that means I'm doing it, because I've given him the facts. I've given him the data. And Mike, you said something to me about one of the licensees was ordering too many illustrations, and it was because he was looking for answers. He was looking for the diagnosis and not making the diagnosis. So he just thought that if he could keep running variations to Mike and spending Mike's time doing all the research that he should have done, that was the way to solve the problem. Well, it's not. Okay, you go in and you make the proper diagnosis using their numbers, their concept on long-term care, their numbers for their income, their loss of income when it happens, when the cliff occurs, their health questions, so that you understand who's closer to the cliff. And I don't mind saying that to anybody. If Mom and Dad are sitting in front of me and I have the facts, it doesn't bother me a bit to say, "Hey, Dad, you're closer to the cliff than Mom is, aren't you?" Because that issue needs to be dealt with. I mean, it's what's going to happen first. And if they're not properly funded, you're not letting them down, but you're not helping them. So let's be aware of that. So the topic of this next presentation that I would like to talk to you about is called Building Bridges to the Back End Sale. and Mike, maybe there's something I was missing when I was first coming to the meetings, but I would hear Mike Stranka get up and talk about these great income sales that were going on. And I was pulling my hair out going, how do I get there? How do I get there? What, how can I put myself in a position where I can have an income sale? And so I just started taking notes and listening. And so this is what I've learned. And here's what I've learned. It's a process, not a product. And if you pursue the process correctly, it's like a roadmap. And if I want to go from Knoxville to Chattanooga, I can get on Highway 11E and drive down there and hit 45 traffic lights. Or I can get on Interstate 40 and cut over 75 and get there in 90 minutes, no traffic lights. Or if I want to, I can go over and get in the narrow, hilly country valleys and go down those little 2-lane roads. Take me 4 hours to get there. So there's many, many ways to go from Knoxville to Chattanooga. What I'm about to show you is the quickest route to the opportunity to make the back end sale. So here we go. So here it is. What is the logic behind building bridges in the sales process? So imagine you're a suspect and you're on the other side of a raging river. I'm looking at you, and I know that you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan, but you're on the other side of that river, and the water's running by real fast. And if you dive in, you're going to drown. If he drives in, he's going to drown. So you've got to find some way to build a bridge across that river to get him to come over. You got to remember now, they don't know you from Adam. They don't care about you from Adam. And they're not even going to be interested until they think that they might benefit from what you want to do. It's that simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to build that bridge. We've talked about the definition of a suspect, someone who you think would benefit from a conversation with you about their current estate plan. Okay. So we've discussed the bridge and how, converting a suspect to a prospect by identifying a qualified prospect. Okay. And how you do that is you got to get them to agree to talk to you about their estate plan on a favorable basis. Folks, it can't be any easier than that. Remember what I talked to you about this morning? What happens if you have 10 people? 5 of them are not going to have an estate plan. 5 of them are. 4 of those 5 are not going to understand what they have. They don't know who to talk to. All you got to do is open it up. And, don't worry about it. Some people are going to tell you no. People tell me no all the time. So if we discuss the bridge to converting a prospect to a client, always use the go-to first interview. If you don't use the go-to first interview correctly, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Use the agenda. If you want to get to the back end sale, use the agenda that I talked to you about earlier today. If you want to get the information you need to get to the back end sale, complete the confidential, all of it, not part of it, all of it. If you want a sales track to use, you can use the script I've written. It's at chapter 21, 22. It's chapter 23 in the fast track training of the book that we give you if you want to be a licensee. So I want to talk about that in a minute. In our keep wanting to pull this microphone down. It's not a microphone. Earlier this morning, I was over here talking into this microphone, and I just found out it's a light. But anyway, if you use a sales presentation exactly as I wrote it, and realize that I wrote it by making mistakes over and over and over and asking myself, what was it I wanted to accomplish in this particular stage of the relationship? because everybody's in a different stage. And I don't have to worry about that because my sales presentation is a funnel. And it's going to lead them right to where I want them to be, and they're going to thank me for it. Because remember, they don't know who to talk to. They don't know what information they need, and you can guide them through that. But a new licensee can get the 30-day training program from me. It's free. It gives you one email a day that takes you through the one step at a time to teach you how to do well in the estate planning process, one step at a time in 5 or 10 minutes each day. I call it advanced training spoon-fed. And I just give you a little bit each day. But at the same time, you can take the fast track training. You folks that want to go monthly, I charge you $99.95 for fast track training. And then I give you your money back when you make your first sale. But fast track training can do the whole 30 days in one weekend. You can do it on Saturday morning, be finished Saturday afternoon, and be trained. It's exact same training. One's just spoon-fed a little bit each day, and one's all at once. But during that process, you'll learn the sales presentation. Most people learn more being spoon-fed. Because if they take the fast track training, they start skipping. They start going, I want to find the meat. And once they think they found the meat, they don't have the foundation built to understand what we're saying. So you get, if you want the proper route to the back end sale, follow that sales presentation. It's designed to make estate planning fit the income sale. There's no reason to do an estate plan unless you discuss income. No reason at all. And the income sale is usually the biggest commission product in the whole process.
Do you ask expenses when you go over?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Ask expenses when you go over income?
Not too much. You can if you want to, but the only thing I need to know is how much income do you have that's not tied to assets, and how much do you have to reach into assets to pay those bills at the end of the month? They know. They'll tell you $500 or $2,000. Okay, they'll know what their gap is. How do you solve it, Mike?
That's what their gap is.
Uh-huh.
We take their Social Security, wife Social Security, pension, any guaranteed income stream that they have, and then only guarantees. Not R&D, not taking dividends, anything like that. Only guaranteed. Once we know their guarantees, now we know what their bottom of their floor is. Then we look at not just what they need, but what they want. And we'll talk about that later. I'm really asking them the right questions to find out really what they want. And their gap is what they have right now in guarantees versus what they want. That's their gap.
And that's by definition in my process, I call that income not tied to assets. And that's the money they're going to spend first. Okay, I know just in my life, I know that when I get my Social Security check, and then I get my pension from the New York Life Insurance Company, I know that's the first money it comes in. It's also the first money it goes out the door. Okay, so, and everybody's the same way. So anyway, the sales presentation works best if you understand the power phrases. It's the power phrase that sets the mindset, that creates the pillow talk, that gets their thought process into, gosh, he or she's asking me about the real estate. They've asked me about long-term care, and they didn't even try to sell me a long-term care contract. They just asked me what I was doing. They asked me about my income. They didn't try to sell me anything. They just wanted to understand what the relationship is of my income to my long-term care plans, and my income to my gaps, and my income to my cliffs, and whether they're sure things or maybes. I really liked that when you all taught me that. Sure things and maybes, people understand them. The stockbroker comes in and starts talking about derivatives and incomes and all that kind of stuff. The average person wants to know, income not tied to assets, income tied to assets, gaps, cliffs, both types of cliffs, sure things, maybes. Who's closer to the cliff? So anyway, you have to keep the goal in mind. So if I know that in the second interview, I think when you and I worked on one of the day that was One America, and what was it that you were doing that I asked you not to do?
Pitching.
Okay, and right, okay, but okay, and I was listening, and it was not your fault, not your fault, but you were showing all of it when they had already told us they couldn't afford it. Okay, so if we pitched what we were trying to show all of it, we were going to get a no. Okay, so we pivoted that to how much can you afford to put into this product each month? And they said, well, we'd like to see what $400 or $500 a month will do. What did we do? We switched it. We kept the monthly benefit the same, 5,000, and shortened something. What did we do with it?
The whole thing, we went to the lower limits where they have only like $150,000 in life insurance for the first pass, and we lowered it down to $5,000 monthly benefit and fees for long-term care.
Okay. All right. So and they only have three choices. Everybody that I talk to, they only get three choices. It's either all of it, none of it, or some of it. And if you see that in their best possibilities of life, they can't afford all of it, you can still give them peace of mind by. And remember the other way I told them, I said I need to turn that off. I looked at them and I said, okay, we can't afford all of it, but we certainly don't want none of it, do we?
And we can't afford to have.
Right. And they looked at it and said, no, there's no way we want none of it. And I said, okay, but all of it's kind of out of reach, isn't it? And they went, yeah. And I said, well, anything that we can do to close that gap between none of it and all of it, is that going to be a good idea? And they said, yes. So the end result was whatever it was we wrote. I don't remember what we wrote.
I have to do some contracting with the company that we're going to go through, and then I'll have to go to writing so that they'll have help.
Okay. So, and the only thing I was trying to teach Wynn at that time was we have to listen to what they're telling us. Okay. And they're looking for peace of mind. And if peace of mind, if they know they can't do all of it, get them as close as you can. They had the income to do some of it. Okay. So anyway, you have to keep the goal in mind. The goal in mind is not to get them to do all of it and possibly lose the sale. The goal is to get them as close to what their goal is as possible. So anyway, and again, we were using their numbers and not ours. Once we got them focused on their numbers, they just kind of rolled over and said, that's what we want. They didn't ask the details. They didn't ask the time frame. They just said, that's what we want. Now, remember yesterday I talked about, yesterday, it seemed like yesterday. This morning I talked about the SIN concept, S-I-N. And if you want to get to the back end sale, if you know your diagnosis is the best possible diagnosis, it's superior to all other diagnosis. And the stockbroker can't touch it. The other insurance agents don't know how to do it. The CPA can't figure it out. If you use their numbers and you make the proper diagnosis, it's superior to anything else they've seen. And they know it. But they have to understand it. If they don't understand it, they'll freeze. So it has to be superior. It has to be intellectually digestible. And then you put those two things together, I promise you it will automatically be a no-brainer. They'll look at each other The healthy mom might look at the unhealthy dad and say, you know, he's right, Dad, you're a little closer to the cliff than I am. And if we don't take care of this, when your expenses go up and our income stays the same, it's going to drain our assets. And I'm going to be the one left holding the bag and in the bad spot. I don't want that. Let's fix it. Does that make sense? You know, but you have to be able to identify that right in front of them. And you have to be able to be brave enough to say, these aren't my numbers, they're yours. This is what's going to happen. It's like in Charles Dickens' Christmas, this is going to happen if you don't change what you're doing. And that's where I like that pillow talk, because from the time they buy their trust to the time you deliver that trust, that's why I asked for a week. I can do it in one day. I don't want one day. I want some pillow talk going on from day one to the time they come in. Because I want the mindset to be, we need to listen to what Randy's got to say, or we need to listen to what Heather or what Wynn's got to say, or what Liz has got to say, or what Charles got to say, because it's important.
Okay, we talked about doing 2 interviews and then 3 interviews. So, like, I've got a couple that we talked to. This is a question I know is running in her mind and mine as well. I don't know if it is anybody else's. So when I look for that trust, at that point in time is when they're bringing me their statements from where all of their stuff is. So when do I deal with that conversation? Is that at a 3rd interview?
You're gonna ask them, do you want to see your numbers?
Yeah.
Well, I asked them when I first did their interview, they wanted to see the numbers and they said yes, but I haven't got their statements yet.
Well, we get the round numbers, right?
Yeah, that's where I go ballpark. Okay.
Round numbers.
You know, if we do ballpark first, why would someone not give you the right numbers? They're going to be real accurate on ballpark, and it takes.
Vehicles that those numbers are in.
Go to Mike, tell him what the information you have, and listen to what he's got to say. A lot of people bring me those problems, and I'm so busy trying to get somebody to make the front end sale that my answer is, call Mike. It's not that I don't know; it's that that's the right answer. Call Mike.
Products, stuff like that, we won't have to torture him, because if you got 300 people over you and everybody's calling Mike said they're going home.
Well, when, yeah, you don't have to do it yourself. Okay.
My biggest purchase is calling. I get 45 million
Well, yeah, we were just discussing that. That was a big discussion. That's something some people have talked about. Are we doing 2 interviews? Or are we doing 3 interviews?
Mike, can you help us? Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4. You know, that case I told you about this morning, I thought was a big one. It took me about 18 months because it had to sink in. You know, the problem that I told them was going to happen because of their numbers started to happen. And that's when they said, oh my God, Randy's right. We got to do something about this. I tell you what really happened was she didn't do anything until she found her husband walking naked out in the neighborhood. Then she called me and said, you know, he's got dementia so bad, I don't know how to handle it anymore. And I said, well, the best way to handle it is get it properly financed. And question back here in the back?
Yeah, just could you walk through possibly a delivery process? We've done this first interview, we've got everything, it's great, we're gonna come back and they're walking in the door. You know, outline of what you do.
Isn't that what you're going to do here in a few minutes?
Well, he's gonna do income.
I'm gonna be, yeah.
Okay.
Talk about how do you handle when you close out, you notarize the paperwork, and you know, that whole kind of maybe just a.
Okay. Well, a lot of that's going to be determined by what their answers are on their long-term care, what their answers are on their income, what their current health situation is. You know, when they come in, they're going to know that most of the time I'm going to be talking to them about whatever is the most primary important thing. So they already know it's going
they're coming back in to get their estate plans done. You've done that.
I'm delivering the trust. Okay, right. Okay.
Then you bridge to a.
Okay. I'll say now it's time to be sure that we're properly funded. And then if I have to, I'll go back through all the assets again. I'll say, we got to do your quick claim deeds on your real estate. We need to review your long-term care, and sometimes at that time they'll bring their long-term care policy in. It just depends. You have to be flexible enough to work with the people in the second interview the way they want to be worked with. I mean, if you tell them to bring in their data, and I struggled with that for a while when Mike Strank would say, bring everything in, I want to see it. Okay, but they're more apt or more willing to bring that in the second interview than the first one. So a lot of times they'll bring everything they've got and they'll bring it in, lay it down right in front of you. Right. Okay. Now, what Mike teaches you to do is to have them fill it out. Okay.
Before they come in.
I mean, I think, and I'm not saying it's in a negative, I'm saying it's in a positive way. I think it's a different sale.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
And so I think the way we're going in with the back end sale, we don't necessarily have to have that filled up all up front because we came in as an estate planning helper, right? One
Mhm.
call there.
Mhm.
And so I think to answer your question, Mike, I think now that you're delivering that trust, now we can start asking some of the questions that are answered. So now we make sure to properly fund it. Let's talk about your real estate, your long-term care, your life insurance, your income. Let's get, how do you, and then talk about the gaps, and say now we'd like to see your numbers. So you're coming back for the third interview.
It could be.
Want to call it that after you deliver the trust to see their numbers, and that's where in between that, let's call it second and third. That's where you connect with your agency.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Well, some you're going to close in the second interview. They're going to be so sold on because they've had the proper pillow top. They're going to be so sold on the problem that they want to come in and take care of it right then. Other people are going to need more convincing. Some are going to be more analytical. Some people are going to want to analyze those numbers real quick. But as long as you've made the proper diagnosis and they're going to see that that's the solution, you're going to be fine. Question?
You have a couple of witnesses there.
Mm-hmm.
Signing all the documents.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Get it done. Dismiss them.
I
They don't want to be there any longer. But you know what? Those two witnesses advocate. Those two witnesses are going to be perfect for you to say, you know what? I'm glad you came in to be a witness, as you might benefit from a conversation that I've had with your client, with your friend here. They're a lot like you. And you might benefit from a conversation that I've had with them about your current estate plan. It's perfect. You never have to worry about, if you get one family, you might get two families in return.
Wouldn't it be a little less messy to like ask them if they want to see their numbers when you're executing the trust?
Well, that's why you dismiss them. That's why you dismiss the witnesses. And the witnesses come.
Oh, okay. So trying to figure out when to ask them if they want to see their numbers. Is it when you're? So you're saying like at the signing, you dismiss the witnesses and then go over the income report?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think if we do it on a regular interview, it just gets a little messy with the funding because they feel like kind of overwhelmed. Something like I feel like the focus is off of the actual issue and onto the tactileness of the
Okay.
funding.
They won't be overwhelmed if they realize that you were talking about the problem that they have and they know that. That's why I asked for a week. Let them go home. Let them have the pillow talk. Hey, I am at risk because of your health, honey. Go ahead.
And you said, I think I'm on you. So we come and deliver the trust, the witnesses are there, they're dismissed, right? And then we talk about, how to properly fund the request for the trust after, their health, the life insurance, their, their assets, and what they like. And then you say, we'd like to see your numbers. Then we would get together and another meeting to show them that. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And listen, not everybody wants to make a $500,000 decision in the second interview. Okay. But they're involved in the process. They're trying to discern if what you're saying is correct. If you've done the proper research, I promise you, what you're saying is correct. You know, that's why I had no fear of walking into Eddie on the corner. Okay, I knew that what I was proposing was correct. And I knew it solved the problem. Okay, you know, so once you've taken the order for the estate plan or established the existence of an acceptable plan that the client can acknowledge to be the best route for them, this is when you bring up the topic of proper funding. You know, and here's how I do it. I look at them and say, you've got to trust that you open it up, it's empty. The next step of this process is to be sure that it's properly funded inside. And then you want to start with the real estate because that's the second little income you can generate. You want to acknowledge, you know, they might bring in their long-term care policy. A lot of people bring their long-term care policies in, and I found out that they say yes to long-term care, and what they've got is $75 a day or $100 a day for 2 years. Okay, so I show them the math. Okay, if it's $100 a day, that's $3,000 a month, and you've got $2,000 Social Security income. That's $5,000. Will $5,000 solve your assisted living or skilled care or, you know, long-term care problems? And a lot of times it's short $1,000 or $2,000. Well, what did we say? $1,000 gap usually is about how much? 250,000. And how much you make on that? And you get thanked. That's the coolest thing I like, when I know that I've, you know, when I've done what's right, and you know, I know I'm making some money, but when they say thank you for solving that problem, and a lot of times before they'll close, they'll look at me and they'll go, "How do you get paid?" Well, I get paid by the insurance company. It's not coming out of their money. You know, and sometimes that reassurance is all they're looking for. Okay, so you know,
Really quick question. How would you explain to someone when they say, what do you mean funded? Proper funding? What do you mean by that? What
okay, all right. So you have a trust that says what you want done with your money. If we review your money and your beneficiary arrangements, or your money doesn't solve what you want said in your trust is not properly funded. Okay, so if you say that inside your estate plan, you want to be sure that your spouse is taken care of for the rest of their lives when you die. Well, don't you think you need to be sure that your money says that? And if your money doesn't say that, don't you think the surviving spouse needs to know that it shouldn't be a surprise? Because those cliffs happen 30 days most of the time. I don't think the Social Security goes away. Sometimes the pension goes away or gets cut in half. And you know, if you have that conversation with those people before it happens, you're the hero. Okay? You're the hero. Okay, so you know,
But by funding, you're talking about just titling everything and making sure that the trust is the
titling and funding. Okay, so maybe you found out that they had $400,000 in a money market and it was earning like 1%. Okay, and you can show them how you can make that money go further, or you might only need 250,000 of it to close that gap for the rest of their lives. And you might say, why did you have $400,000 in the money market? Let them tell you. And what they tell you it may be in direct conflict with what they said they wanted done in their trust.
Yeah, that happens to them.
Then you come up with a proper product to move that money into that solves that problem. If I can guarantee, you know, what's the biggest fear the elderly have?
running out of money.
Running out of money, running out of income in most cases. So if you can show them how to not run out of income, and that they can leave the rest of the money where it is. And if that money fluctuates for some reason, it doesn't affect their true purpose. I call it finding your true purpose for money. It's on my business card. Let's find out what your true purpose for money is. When you do that, you properly funded the trust. Okay, so once you get them to agree that that's the true purpose for their money, if Dad says the true purpose for this $400,000 in that money market is to take care of my wife when I die, is that a sure thing or maybe? It's a maybe. So what if you can take part of that money and turn it into a sure thing and leave the rest of the money free and unobligated? You know, Ben and I are working on a case right now. This fellow that has all his money in municipal bonds, and he does it because it gives him the income that he wants for the rest of his life. And we looked at it and we said, did you know that if you use this product, you can have that same income for the rest of your life and have $385,000 cash left over? And we said that to him last week. He doesn't believe it yet, but we got to let it soak in. But I think he's going to see that he's got all of his money tied up in the market when he doesn't need all that money tied up in the market to accomplish that goal. But his stockbroker's not going to tell him about it. Okay, so how do we find that out? Page 2 of the confidential. And he looked at us and he said, you know, I've always wanted to have some available cash. He said, I can't have available cash because I need to have that income. And so what we looked at was, if we can solve that for you, would you be interested? He said, yeah, he hadn't made a decision yet, but at least we know that our diagnosis is correct. Our prescription is correct. He just has to swallow it. So if you do it right, you'll have a superior opportunity to make the back end sale. If you build the bridge correctly, you've got the best opportunity to close that back end sale. So how do you do it right? Isn't that the question you all been asking for the past 30 minutes? How do you do it right? So far you've drawn the family tree. You discussed the current plan, not the one you wanted to buy, the current plan. You've identified their real estate. Now, what happens if you find somebody that's got 18 rental properties and $100,000 cash? And I ran into it up in Kingsport. 83-year-old gentleman with dementia setting in, liquidating his real estate, paying huge capital gains. Okay, his wife wanting security with long-term care. Okay, so as you know, we wound up so far when I met him. So far, we've written $300,000 income product for her, $300,000 income product for him, about $3 million in MIGAs, $2 million in MIGAs, and one deferred sales trust with $150,000 in it on a MIGA. They still have $8 million in real estate that they have to liquidate. They don't want it to be at risk. You have to understand that. Yes, sir.
You discussed like a charitable venture trust last week?
Well, we haven't discussed that because it's not in their goals, but you know, we could. Okay. And you know, what it's going so well, you know, but they have a daughter that lives in Scotland, or he does. It's second marriage. A daughter in Scotland, and she has 3 children who all live in the neighborhood. Okay. And she has goals for the assets for those 3 children, and he has goals for his daughter that lives in Scotland. And as long as they talk about them, as long as we design the product to fit those goals, they're fine. But every 3 or 4 months, they're calling me and they're going, we sold another property. What do we do with the money? Okay, so you discuss the current plan. You've identified their real estate. You've identified their long-term care plans. In that situation, there were none. They didn't think they needed them. They had so much money. And what convinced them to buy income plans on both of them was they realized that they didn't have to have all their money at risk to cover those problems. That they could isolate it, fix it, and go to Europe and travel. I went to their house the other day, that day where all the electronics were going crazy. What was it, Friday?
Mhm.
And he looked at me and he said, Randy, I just, I'm 83. I just want to have fun and travel and see what's going on. And I said, great. Do you want me to turn some of your income on now, or do you want it for later? And I said, the reason we deferred your income was because you paid those big capital gains and you've got $700,000 in the bank right now. Why don't you live on the money you've already paid taxes on instead of creating more income, which raises your Social Security, your Medicare charges and things like that. And he handed me another $1 million it's about 2 months ago, because he had it in the market in government bonds, and he was earning 5.7%, paying taxes on it in the current year, which was pushing his Medicare up. And he kept saying, why are they charging me so much for that? I said, because you're reporting too much income. He took his bonds were 5.7. He bought a MIGA at 5.5 and deferred it. Now he doesn't have to pay the income tax on it. And his next year, his premiums should go down, won't they? Because of his income.
Look back 2 years.
Do I? Whatever the time frame is. Yeah. Right. Okay. So once we showed him that, he said, that's a no-brainer. We need to do that. Okay. It was superior, intellectually digestible, no-brainer. So anyway, you identify long-term care plans, you discuss their income plans, you discuss their health status, you get their asset ballparks. Have you heard this before? And you'll never hear me do anything but the same drum beat. And then confirm the proper estate plan and take in the order. That's the way to get to the back end sale. So, and that's what you learned this morning. So look at the next one. The goal is set the appointment for the Godiva delivery. Okay. You want to make the estate plan delivery within 1 week. And a lot of people go and do their estate plans with an attorney. They buy it in April and it gets delivered in September. You have the potential through our license agreements to do it. People can come in my office 10 o'clock and leave at 12 noon with a fully notarized witness plan. I've done a couple of deathbeds that way. Okay. And families love me for it. And you know what? I picked up the family business because all of a sudden, when you said I need referrals, when they see what a good job you do in that emergency situation, it's okay to look at them and say, you might benefit from a conversation with me too. It's okay. So you want to make this, I think you want to make the delivery in 1 week. That gives time for the pillow talk. That gives you time to call Mike, gives you time to get to your research and to run your numbers so that when they come in, they can look at their numbers. It's efficient. And you might tell them the next day, the day before the appointment, say, when you come in, remember, we're going to review those numbers. I did that research for you. I think you're going to like what you see. You put yourself at a disadvantage when you deliver the estate plan the same day as you take the order, unless there's a reason to deliver same day. But anyway, at the same time, there must be a sense of urgency. You want them to say, let's get this done. If they say, no, we want it done right now, take the time and get it done. But most of the time, you can look at them and say, we didn't know what you wanted to do, so we didn't plan on having our notary and witnesses here. Once you come in, if you can see me on Monday at 1 o'clock today, maybe you can see me at Monday next week at 1 o'clock. And people will say yes. People are creatures of habit. If they're free on Monday at 1 today, they'll be free on Monday next week. So let's talk pillow talk a minute. It's what probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest advantages you can have for a long-term relationship with clients. So what is pillow talk? It's a discussion a couple has after the first interview, sometime before the second back end sale interview. Mike, when you all do demonstrations from one week to the next, there's pillow talk going on. Okay. You have given them the opportunity to have the discussion that they need to have in private. And they know you're right. They know that you're telling them the truth. Nobody else is telling them the truth. Everybody else is pitching as hard as they can pitch. Just listen, listen to what they have to say and make your diagnosis. Have confidence in it. So the advantage of the newly proposed or purchased plan will appear through that pillow talk. Their current long-term care plans will be discussed. I promise you, they'll discuss it. What are we going to do if you have a stroke and I can't take care of you? We don't have it properly funded. And it's usually the healthy one talking to the sick one or the sicker one. And you got, oh shoot, what happened there? My battery's running low. Let me call time out. Time out, everybody.
One problem I have is,
Well, don't trip over it. Except the only other problem is that there's not a plug here. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there you go. See, Mike's done this before. He knows they get ready. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Good. I'll stay in my seat so I won't trip over. Okay. The pillow talk, they're also going to talk about their income. You know what? Dad with a heart attack and a stroke and cancer and diabetes or some variation of that. Randy has shown us what's going to happen when you pass away. And you are closer to the cliff than I am. That's a pretty serious conversation. Allow your clients the time to have that. Don't put any pressure on them. You don't have to put any pressure on them. You've already got the appointment coming up next week. They're going to talk about it. I had a guy come in Monday and said, because the licensee didn't do it correctly, it automatically made him run to his stockbroker, who told him, don't do that, don't do that. When he came in and met with me, he said, my stockbroker's saying don't do that. And I said, well, let's find out why. Let's find out what happens if you follow the stockbroker's advice. And his next statement to me was, you've told me things nobody's telling me. I want another appointment. And that appointment's on August 1st. Okay. I didn't try to sell him anything. I just said, okay, let's just stick with the current plan. Let's see what happens in the current plan. Is this what you want? And what he said was, I don't know. But my daughter doesn't want that plan. And I said, well, think about it. Come back in. We'll talk about it August 1. That's momentum, because I know that there's an appointment on, between now and August 1. I know I've got at least one more appointment coming up August 1. And if I keep stacking my appointments in the future, in August, if I know that I've got 12 workshops and 5 or 6 appointments, I'm going to write business and create new business. And I don't know where it's going to come from. And it doesn't matter, because I'm just following the process and not the individual result of any one decision. I can take a no because I've got other appointments coming in. Okay. So I also know that there, if they concentrate on the gaps and the cliffs and the sure things and the maybes, and that's something that any teenager can understand. And the proper funding of the pending health expenses of the spouse closest to the cliff, that it's gonna come up. And then they're going to talk about your role in the decision process. You know what? If your clients aren't calling you by your first name, you're doing something wrong. You know, I like my clients to come in and say, Randy, we got to discuss this. Usually when they call me Mr. Baxter, I feel like they've done something wrong, or that they're not as close to me as I want them to be in this decision process. Because I need them to trust me. And I need to know that I'm making the right diagnosis and I'm making the right prescription. You put those things together and you're going to get a high closing ratio. You're going to build the bridge to the back end sale. All right. So how do you assure the pillow talk occurs? By building the bridge to the back end sale. So this is what you want to say. This is important. Mr. and Ms. Client, you've done a good job accumulating your assets. Having the proper paperwork is the first step. And you guys, you can take pictures of it, but if you want it, just send me an email and I'll send you this whole PowerPoint. Okay. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Having the proper paperwork is the first step. It is the first step. So proper funding is the second step. And when you come back next week to pick up your notarized your documents, we should discuss proper funding. They know they're coming in to discuss proper funding. That's why they chose to do business with you. So they're going to let you lead. You know, I have some ideas, but I need to do some research and run some numbers. And then I set the book and they leave. I tell them, when we meet next week, would you like to see your numbers? They say yes. They leave. I call Mike. I say, Mike, I've got, I need this amount of income in this number of years. Run me some illustrations. And when they come back in next week, they look at it and they think I've done all that work. And I have. I've built the relationship with Mike. I've done the work. It's true. It's work that I don't have to repeat. I just have to pick up the phone, call Mike, or call, I'll call Mike. But anyway, so your clients will always agree to that. I promise you, they'll all say, we're coming in to see what you've got to say. You've already shown them the solution to their estate plan. So why would they not want to see your solution to the proper funding? It's a no-brainer. So now's the time to prepare the information you got using the Retire Now software. Now, one problem that we were having, Mike, the other day with the Retire Now software was the licensee. I did not understand how important it was to feed that thing accurate information. I call it that thing. I don't mean to call it that thing, Mike, but that's that thing.
The profile?
In the software. Okay, so what was happening was he wasn't using the kill, what I call the kill off, when you let the guy die or the wife die, and he didn't have the time frames in right. Okay, and I think you're going to show us that today a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so you can see the Retire Now software, but you can go to my website and watch Mike perform it. Okay, but you can also talk to Mike and he'll perform it for you. Okay, so all you gotta do is go to randallbaxter.com, click on FTAP training, and the password's FTAP courses. Those of you who are out there, I don't mind you going to my website and looking at those things. I think there's about 50 classes on that website right now. All you gotta do is go comb through it and pick the topic you want and click on it and watch the video. So if you haven't made many income presentations, just go in and watch a couple of them and then call Mike and say, Mike, help me with this. Mike taught me back when I just thought he was a whippersnapper. But then I realized, good my gosh, this guy's, I don't care, Mike, you took me from $90,000 a year to to $350,000, $400,000 a year in less than a year. So there's a whole lot of value in what he's got to say there. Once you've watched the videos, schedule an appointment with me to discuss how to get this software. And there's only one way to get it, and that's where, you have to be licensed with Simplicity of Minnesota. Okay. It's not mine, but you can obtain it by talking to Mike Bemis. I do not ask anyone to move their, if you want to do estate planning and not move your IMO, I'm not going to, challenge you on that. I'm just going to say that's fine, but you're sort of crippled if you don't have that software. You need to talk to mine. It's not mine to give to you. But it goes like this. It takes what we do, what they do, and goes like that. It fits. And again, my whole purpose for doing this, what we were saying here, is I had to figure out a way to maximize the number of back-end sales I could have. With my current health issues, I just have so much energy to put into things. So I have to maximize that time. So anyway, I only recommend licensees who are participating in the cycle of success. I go over and over and over it, and then people say, I don't have any appointments, and I'll go, show me your cycle of success, and they'll go, I don't have one. And I sent an email out to everybody the other day. A goal without a plan is just a dream. If you're sitting there going, I want to have $250,000 or $300,000 of income, and if you don't have a plan, you're not going to get there. And that's why, are we going to do 90-day plans Thursday? Mike pushes the 90-day plan, I push the 90-day plan. I make one little adjustment in a 90-day plan. I think you ought to adjust your 90-day plan every 30 days. Adjust your 90-day plan every 30 days because things happen. Okay. I know that my August, I know everything that's going to happen in August, except the things that I don't know. The things that I don't know are usually good things. Okay. So it's a waste of Mike's time to send him unprepared licensees. That's where Mike corrected me the other day and said, hey, this guy's running too many illustrations. So I sat him down and I said, let's learn how to gather the information you need to get the proper illustration so you can go in with the proper diagnosis and a proper prescription in the most efficient amount of time. So you cannot build a proper bridge to the back end sale if you're struggling with the bridge to prospect conversion. You can't, I talked to a young lady in Texas yesterday morning. And what I realized was she could do really, really good in the presentation, but she didn't have the confidence to convert the suspect to the prospect. It doesn't do me any good to try to teach you an income presentation if I can't teach you how to get to be in front of that person to make that presentation. So, the only way to be an expert at it is to do it over and over and over and over and get good at it. So it's okay not to be ready to build the bridge to the back end sale as long as you are building the bridges of suspect to prospect. That you're not going to get to the income sale until you go through the cycle of success and identify the people that are appropriate and take step by step. You Medicare people, and you're sitting on a gold mine. I mean, a literal gold mine. You people who have moved into a new neighborhood and don't have people that you've done business with in the past, then you should develop your marketing plan that addresses that issue. You can go knock on doors if you want to, but the workshop is the best way to eliminate that problem. The workshop identifies your avatar, puts a name on it so that they're a persona. It automatically skips the suspect stage and takes them straight to the prospect stage. That might cost you somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000, depending on what company you do. And to me, what I do with licensees is I split the cost with them, so I know that I'll have 4 workshops with 4 workshop plans with 4 workshops inside it. And I know that on the average, I'm probably going to have some kind of influence on 320 people in August. And that's going to cost me $1,750 times 4. It's going to cost me $7,000 because I'm splitting the cost with the other licensees, and they get half of whatever we produce, and I get half of whatever they produce. I tell them up front, hey, the mission is to get you to a point where you don't want or need me to be involved. But if you read my book, Approach, Plan, Succeed, I talk about a seagull. If you read the book, Jonathan Lives in Seagull, he learned that he could be in many places at one time. And that's what we do with marketing. I know I'm up here in Minnesota today. At the same time, one of my marketing people is getting in touch with thousands of people, setting my stage for August and September. So I know that even this morning, we're contacting people who are going, I want to be there on August 16th. I want to be there on August 8th. I don't know who they are. I get a list, and I have skipped the whole avatar persona suspect stage. And when I walk in to do the show, Linda gets mad at me when I call it a show, but to me it's a show. You know, when I go in to do the show, I know that they're already there to talk to me on a favorable basis. And I already know that they came because there's something on their mind. I mean, that's, you know, if you do the marketing right, if you understand that there's something on their mind, and that's why they took the time to come to the library or to come to the senior citizen center or to go to the restaurant. And if you don't take the time to figure out what that is, you've wasted your money. That's why when you get a bad phone call where somebody says, yank, 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 all we're trying to do is see if there's, you know, they came to that meeting because they had something on their mind. We just want to find out what's on their mind, and can we help them? If they want to be ugly and belligerent, it's just part of the numbers game. You know, it's okay. Just say, okay, don't worry about it, because it's going to happen. Okay. And you know what? They still got the problem they had when they came. That's probably, you know, that's their problem, not yours. So you don't have to worry about it. So, you know, if you are having a problem identifying a suspect, what did I say to you this morning? I know you know 600 people. I know that you know 10 of those people that would benefit from a conversation if you were to ask. And the problem is you don't ask. And they may be sitting there with a cancer in their family, or a pending death in their family, or possible inheritance, or possible sale of a house, or possible job transfer. You know, what's Stranka call those, Mike? Pillars of success? The 10 pillars, or these, you know, you don't know what's going on out there until they come in and tell you. And they won't come in and tell you unless you do the interview correctly. And then they'll just pour it out of their heart. They'll just tell you everything that you need to know, because you're only asking for ballparks. And they already know you, trust you, like you, because they've gone through the micro commitments that I've tried to show you occur when you follow the sales process. So the system is superior to what you have been taught in the past. It's easy to learn, and it's a no-brainer. So, okay. All I'm trying to do is teach you what I'm saying right up here. You know, and you have to remember, you don't have to be an expert at anything. You only have to be one step ahead of your prospect, one step. You have to know what you're going to do next, because you don't know how they're going to react. But if you're just one step ahead, you're always going to be moving forward. You're always going to be building momentum. And the ones who stop you on that one step ahead, they're not a prospect. Push them up. Okay. So anyway, you can go again. You can go to my website, look in the upper right-hand corner. And I tell people, I'll teach you what I know. I'll teach you what I do. I can't teach anything else. I'm too conservative about that. But, you know, I do believe that there's two things that you need to be aware of. One is you have to be trained before you can be coached. A lot of people come to me and want to be coached when they don't understand the vocabulary, they don't understand the process. I need to teach you, I need to train you the process before I can coach you how to implement the process. My new word for 2024, I announced most of it to you on January 1. My word for everybody was implement. And those who are not implementing are the ones who are attending classes and not making any money and not making any sales. And it's not because they don't know how, it's because they're not implementing. And if you're going to implement, start at the beginning. I learned that from a Catholic priest. Start at the beginning. So anyway, does anybody have any questions on this? What time is it?
11:10.
Randall,
11:10? Okay. All right. So let's take some
Randall.
feedback. Yes.
Cynthia had a question in the chat.
Okay. Go ahead.
She said, what if they want to get their existing advisor to do the insurance after you have made the discoveries?
Say that a little bit slower. It's a little raspy.
What if they want to get their existing advisor to do the insurance after you have made the discoveries?
Well, you should call a guy and have him take you to lunch. You can't always eliminate a good personal relationship. You can't do it. But there's something in that relationship that you did not convince them that you were the right person. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to the best of anybody. I think even Mike Stranka says it happens to him. He doesn't get every sale he tries to make, does he? So you're not going to get every sale. If somebody says, I'm going to deal with my personal insurance, how do you fire that guy, Mike? How would you fire that guy?
Well, it's a longer conversation, but ultimately you want to say is, hey, well, if I put together a fight for you, something that you love, would you be open to move some?
Okay. And the other thing is,
Like the couple of trainings you did, they have a bunch of really good ways of firing the broker. I think it would apply to both. And again, at the end of the day, I think you need to try them, but sometimes if it's a real personal relationship, you're not going to get it. But if you do the things that they say,
okay.
Well, don't go filter too, like Brian, or Randy said, you have to get everybody. So if they're not willing to commit to leaving that person, well, that's your filter. I know.
Yeah. The other thing is, and whoever asked that question, would you really trust an agent that could only give you advice after they went to somebody and got the proper diagnosis and the proper prescription? If they can say, I can do that too, the answer really is, why have you not done that?
Exactly. That's one of the ways.
So you've got the perfect defense. If somebody says, I'm going to deal with my agent, it could be that agent's their son. You can't do anything about that. But I always look at them and go, are you really going to depend on somebody that can only give you advice after somebody else has done the work? Have confidence in that. But also question?
You ever able to pull referrals out of a situation like that? Because they know they're burning you a little bit. You brought them a good thing. And you just say, hey, look, you've got an agent you got a great relationship with. Throw me a bone.
Well, I'm going to ask you to not live on bones, live on meat. So I'm just kidding you. I know, I'm just kidding you.
On there, but
right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
Is that appropriate?
Well, all I would tell you is read Who Moved My Cheese, okay, and don't scurry. One of those people in that book go, hey, this is not the right route. I'm going to go a different route. And I'm going to figure out what it is I'm doing wrong, and I'm going to follow the right path. Other people were scurrying around going, I need to run in different directions. Other people kept going back to the place where they had the loss, looking for whatever it was they'd lost, and it's gone. So if someone actually tells you, people tell you who they are. If someone tells you that, it's okay to pursue it. But what I'm going to ask you to do is have so many cases in your funnel that an answer like that is just, don't worry about it. You can try to convert them, but if you're following the process, you'll have so many people that want to do business with you, that want to hear what you have to say, that the person who wants to pivot and hand that, actually what they're doing is giving the other person a bone. You know, that person hasn't earned that. But anytime an agent who comes to me or somebody tells me that the agent says they can do it too, my answer is, why have they not done that? And can you trust them in the future? And if they say yes, let it go. You know, just let it go. All I'm saying here is there's an opportunity once you learn what Mike can do for you and what you can do for yourself in the family estate docs. There's an opportunity for me. My opportunity is I have an opportunity to split cases with 50 agents every month. So I don't mind giving up half, because that's 25 times more than what I might normally do. Once you learn this, other agents are going to come to you and they're going to say, show me what I need to know. It's okay. Help them be a licensee. Take them to Mike. Split a couple cases with them. You know, the biggest thing a new agent, the biggest fear a new agent has is they're afraid they'll blow the sale. So if you'll just go in and help them make the sale and tell them split half the case with you, if you're really good at it, what you do, they will not need you anymore. Well, that's okay. Because the important thing is that if they don't need you anymore, encourage them to start showing other people what they do. They'll bring in other people. They'll bring you cases that you never dreamed about. Does that make sense? If you share what you know with people, and they'll go, well, how did you learn that? I'll tell you right now. You might say, well, I learned how to do estate planning with Randy Baxter. I learned how to fund it through Mike Bemis. You know, if you want to know how to do that, I can show you the path. I can show you what to do. You know, but there's a lot of insurance agents out there that have, if I put my triangle back up there, they're not even aware of the potential income that they can have if they do this process right. They're still out trying to sell final expense, and they're trying to go out and be product salesmen. Some of them go out and say, you'd be surprised how many people tell me, hey, I sell universal life and that's all I sell. Or I sell the infinite banking system. That's all I do. And some people say, Medicare is all I do. And I keep on looking at them and I go, well, that's great, but why? If you can do your estate plan properly, you can show them how the infinite banking system might work. You can show them how their Medicare plans might work. You might show them whether they have a need for final expense. You might, what I have learned here in the past couple of months is I've been missing that on the life insurance sales, so when I brought people in, the life insurance sales started going up. My biggest reason I didn't have the life insurance sales is I didn't have time.
They have sped up underwriting.
Do what?
They have sped up underwriting, local carriers now. They started to raise the bar.
Right, and sometimes it stops. I want to do the income sale first, then the life insurance. I don't want to do the life insurance first, then the income sale, because if you don't get the good results on the life insurance, it might blow the income sale. Okay, so sometimes if you build your momentum to a point, you'll start seeing that there's a weight behind you of things that you're not doing. You don't have to do it, but at the same time, if you bring other people in that teach it, to teach them, you might see that they go back and pick those other things up with you. Okay, so any questions about that so far?